So you guys are here because, like me, you have rolled your ankle. Well, at least you didn't catch your reaction on camera. Check it out. Running is the perfect way to connect. Yes, that is real live footage of me from the run experience filming a video while rolling my ankle. I stepped on a log on the other side and I just couldn't see it while I was holding the GoPro out in front of me. I stepped wrong and my ankle just fell all the way over and rolled on its side. I immediately felt a super hot, painful sensation on the outside of my ankle, and I knew that I had done something pretty bad at that moment. I had to immediately sit down because I could not hold any weight on my left ankle. And after a few minutes, I was able to manage to limp my way back home, but I knew this was worse than just a regular rolled ankle. I knew I was looking at something around the sprained or strained area because this pain wasn't going away. And I've rolled my ankle a lot of times, right? I've run on the trail a lot. And normally when I roll my ankle, I can kind of move it around and just take a couple deep breaths and shake it out, and it does eventually go away. So I knew that this was gonna be something a little bad. But luckily the rehab for either a sprain, a strain, or a rolled ankle is pretty similar. It's just how long it's gonna take to recover. But let's touch on what those differences are real quick. Now, one is not technically worse than the other, a strain versus a sprain. A strain is an injury to the muscle or the tendon, and tendons are the connective tissue that attaches the muscle to the bone. And a sprain is an injury to the ligament, and a ligament is connective tissue that connects bone to bone. So I'm not a doctor, I'm not telling you which one it is. If you are experiencing this kind of pain that I was describing, go see a doctor and let them tell you exactly what it is. But like I said, treatment, luckily, pretty similar. So let's get into how I fix this and how I am able to be back running now, because I promise you, it will get better. Now, the RICE method for healing, R-I-C-E, stands for rest, ice, compression, and elevation. That's been around for a while, and it's been really successful in helping heal these injuries, but I'm gonna take a different approach on this. We're gonna get rid of that R for rest because our bodies are really good at healing ourselves, and we just wanna aid in that healing process. And resting is going to be something that we want to do. We don't wanna rest the entire time because the whole goal here is to get this thing healed faster. So to help our body do that healing, we want to bring more blood to that affected area because blood carries oxygen and specific nutrients that your body needs to help heal a wound. So if we can circulate that blood faster to the wounded area, the blood is going to automatically start to trigger that tissue repair. Just like if we get a cut anywhere on the outside of our body, our blood rapidly goes to that area and it creates a scab, right? If I keep picking at that scab, that wound's not going to heal as quickly, right? But if I keep that blood there, keep it circulating, that blood is going to do its job and help me heal. So that's just what it's doing on the inside of our body too. Okay, so as I said, we are getting rid of that R for rest. We're gonna change it to an M for movement. You wanna keep the body moving. That is one of the easiest ways to keep blood flow going. And depending on your level of injury, maybe a weight-bearing movement isn't the best thing, right? We wanna maybe wait a couple of days, but right after, we do wanna keep that ankle moving. And if you're really stuck for ways on how to keep this moving, you don't know really what exercises are gonna be good and not hurt it, well, we did actually just release a program in our app. It's called the Ankle Mobility Challenge. And a lot of the exercises in this program can be used so that you can keep that ankle moving, keep that mobility going while not putting a lot of extra strain on that ankle. So go ahead and check that out. We do have the link down in the description below if you want to download our app and join that challenge to keep that ankle moving and flowing. And if you're in a place where you actually can put weight on the ankle, it feels fine going in a forward motion. Like me, I can move it just fine walking or running straight, but when I hit the trails, that lateral mobility is really gone. As you can see over here, okay? So I'm showing you the mobility that I have with my right ankle, which is my healed ankle, but my left ankle, as you can see, I have about 60% mobility in there. I cannot fully turn that foot all the way to the outside. I know that there's some kind of injury there because I don't have that full mobility. Something is not fully healed yet. So if I do want to go out into the trails, I'm actually gonna tape up my ankle, and I'll show you how to do that in just a moment. But that forward motion isn't really hurting it. Yeah, it may feel a little uncomfortable, but I can tell it's not making the injury any worse. So even if that's just something like a walk, a light run, just to keep that blood flow going, keep your fitness up, keep you going down the path towards your fitness goals, definitely do that. All right, let's tape up our ankle. I'm gonna take my socks off here. I am gonna be using 2 pieces of my KT tape here. This stuff is really nice because it is meant to stick to your body, but it's also stretchy, so it's gonna give you that mobility. I'm really only trying to tape my ankles when I'm out on the trails or a little sketchier terrain. I wanna make sure my ankle has a chance to heal, so I'm not gonna tape it for every single run, every single day, right? I don't need a brace. I just need a little extra support when I'm out on the trails. It's always good to give her a little test walk here, and as you can see, I can fully flex my foot. That's exactly what we want, but that way feels a little stiff, so that's perfect. I should feel pretty good now. All right, next up we have our I for ice. Ice is a tool that we really want to only be using within that 24-hour time frame of the injury, because as I said, we want to continue to circulate blood to the area, and ice actually restricts that. So ice should really only be used as a pain management tool for about 15 minutes on, resting, letting your foot warm back up, circulate some blood, and continuing to do so within that 24-hour time frame. If it is still extremely painful after that, I highly suggest going to the doctor, because it may be something a little bit worse than what I'm talking about here. Next up, we have our C for compression. When we compress, when we squeeze on any part of our body, that is an immediate reaction for our body to be like, oh, I need to send more blood to that area. So this is really helping circulate blood to a very specific area. While we're doing the movement, that's just kind of circulating blood everywhere. When we add compression to that injured area, we're telling the body, this is where I need help. Please send it. And luckily there's a few different ways that you can use compression. For the first week of my injury, I was wearing compression socks on and off, and that made my foot feel a lot better. We can use something like a band or voodoo floss, which is essentially something that looks like this, where it's a big stretchy band and you can wrap the ankle while still giving it that mobility. You're able to compress the area while still being able to move in it. And we're gonna add movement plus compression, so that's just a double whammy. Next up is our E for elevate. Okay, so anytime that we put a body part above the heart, that heart has to pump harder to get the blood to flow upwards, right? For the most part, our heart has gravity on its side and it can pump easily to the rest of our body when you're standing up straight or laying down. So when we put our feet up above, my body is now draining that blood and it's forcing new blood to get up there much more quickly. This is also a great way to just recover anyways after a run, so go ahead and you can do this and put your feet up the wall. You can also have a little pillow underneath your hips here if you don't have quite that flexibility, but hanging out here for 5 to 10 minutes or even longer, just kind of opening it up. And while your feet are up here, it's always a good idea to work on that mobility as well so that your foot doesn't feel stiff when you come back down. So moral of the story, keep your body moving. Our bodies are designed to move, they want to move. And I know this for me personally hit me a little hard. It was about 2 weeks before my first race of 2021. And look, I know from personal experience, it can get in your head, an injury like this, where it's just kind of nagging and persistent, because in reality, this could take from 2 to 6 weeks to go away depending on the severity of it. And I know it sucks, because for me, this just happened in the beginning of my training for the Boston Marathon. So it's really putting a mental damper on things, but don't let that get you down. So keep moving, keep your spirits up. And if you need some extra additional help with what kind of mobility exercises to do, luckily for you, we have Coach Nate here. Cheers to Coach Nate. He has a whole video right over here, so go ahead and check that out next. It's all about how to fix your stiff ankles. So there's some really great ankle exercises that you can be doing so that hopefully later down the line, you can strengthen those ankles and you won't have to deal with this ever again, which means I now need to be doing those. So I will definitely see you guys in this next video. Good luck.